Hello everybody and welcome to the Learn Dota 2 League Season 14, Week 1. This is the last of these flashback Week 1 games. Fortunately, it's not the end of these flashback games in general. I should be able to clear out Week 2's games rather quickly next week, so we should have some more actual fully crewed games for Week 3 and have them up quicker. My apologies for being late on these. Like I said, it's not... Honestly, the hardest part is finding people who are able to do it at the odd hours that I typically record these things.
5 seconds remaining.
I will try to see if we can get that done a little faster moving forward. So here we're looking at Thugwood and the Thug Chans taking on Aqua and Forcestaff, starting off with some pretty conventional bans. Omnidite and Undying going down, I think, are not really going to be surprising anybody much today.
10 seconds remaining.
Aqua and Forcestaff, of course, is finally making their long-awaited debut here. I promise I haven't just been trying to bury Gotham here. Like, to be honest with you, I tried to get on his game up. Like, I wanted to do his game first when I was doing the Week 2 games, and it just did not come to pass. I do think he's got one of the more interesting teams this season. I think the two teams to watch, in my opinion, as far as like raw interest factor go, are probably, well, I mean, I guess now there's a couple more because of things that have happened since the start of the season. But on paper, I think the Gotham team and what happens with the Kid Dynamite team, you know, it's interesting to remember that in Season 12, Kid Dynamite was in a very similar position that he was in now, and he turned it around and ended up with a very solid contender team at the end of everything. It's Gotham. There's so many question marks hovering above Gotham's team in terms of how it's going to be composed, in terms of how it's going to be orchestrated. Aqua and Forcestaff, very interesting to watch. Primal Beast ban, by the way, equally interesting, didn't really mention it. Especially interesting considering the Disruptor. I don't know, I really don't think I like Primal Beast and the Disruptor, like, at all, basically. Very odd decision, but it's a decision that Hollwood has decided to go with. Maybe he was going to pick Mirana and the switch to Disruptor was sort of a last second thing. I don't know. Undying and Death Prophet bans. Not too surprising. Takes me back to a few years ago when those two were absolute menaces that totally dominated the meta. Like, if you thought Death Prophet was bad a patch ago, you should have seen the games, like the patches where it felt like she had like a 70% pick rate in pubs. First pick Witch Doctor. Like I said before, I think with the change to Witch Doctor, as long as you're thinking about it, as long as you read those patch notes, I think Witch Doctor is a much easier, much cleaner first round pick now, so that's probably not too bad.
Remaining. 5 seconds remaining.
I will say, if there is one thing, here's our Dawnbreaker. There is one thing that is conclusively answered here, even having not seen the match yet. Pages standing in for Gotham is a pretty considerable answer to where Gotham is going to be. In fairness, I don't know how much of a question that was. I think Gotham being the being in the support line on this particular team was not a great shock. You know, nor Bonus, for that matter, who is currently standing in as captain. The real surprise will be, where are any of these cores going? That'll be the interesting thing to watch. Not only a Mars pick, but a relatively early one at that on Thugwood. I just gotta be blunt, I don't like the Mars. I don't like Mars against the Dawnbreaker, and I don't like him against the Witch Doctor either. You know, Witch Doctor can sit right outside of the arena. He can cast his ult inside of it, and then your arena is a death trap. And that's fairly tragic. Thugwood saying no void. And of course, Dawnbreaker means that unless your arena contains her while being stunned, then you almost have no arena at all. The
5
ability for
seconds
Dawnbreaker to be able to potentially drop in basically totally
Brilliant
inerts
team
Mars.
back.
I'm not a big fan of this pick. No Arc Warden, for the record. And of course, even if you do drop the arena on her, if she isn't killed in the ensuing stun barrage to follow, she can just jump the hell out and say goodbye. Nothing's gonna stop her.
10 seconds remaining.
You can tell what sort of relationship that Mars and Dawnbreaker were in by
5
their
seconds
dynamic in that way.
remaining.
The Arc Warden ban is particularly interesting to me. I'm not really sure who it's for. I think that's a Bush ban, but I don't know if the Bush is going to be running a lot of Arc Warden mid. I mean, maybe he's taking a page out of the Ray Bebe book. You never know. But I do have a funny feeling maybe that ban is being done perhaps with the idea that it's going to be the Bush 1 Jackie Chan 2. I'm not really sure. Trail Ranger ban. I do think that is a good ban. I do think, while the Mars pick in particular, especially alongside Disruptor, who is kind of just a lower commitment ability to do the same thing, but
5 seconds remaining.
alongside the Disruptor pick in
Radiant
particular,
team back.
I do think the bans have been pretty solid on Thugwood, the Primal Beast notwithstanding. Void, Drow Ranger, Omni Knight, all very good solutions to things they've got on the field. Things are clearly thinking about, things are clearly planning themselves around.
10
On the other
seconds
hand, I
remaining.
think Aqua Teen Hunger
Dire
Forcestaff
team
is just kind of banning a lot of strong pub heroes right now. And Arc
back.
Warden.
Dire team pick.
There's another great example of it, and a Roxy Roro classic. Lone Druid. That's really interesting. Absolutely fascinating. I just
10
in
seconds remaining.
LD2L, seeing a Lone Druid ban is tantamount to
5
insanity.
seconds remaining.
I believe Hollwood might have lost his mind. But that wouldn't be the first time, to be frank.
Radiant team pick.
We got the Warlock. I like this Witch Doctor Warlock support combo. I think while their strengths are redundant, they are at least additive to each other. A lot of times you see, especially when it comes to support combos or the 3 and
10
under club in
seconds
general,
remaining.
you see a lot of times where these strengths, or sometimes even the 1 and
5
2,
seconds
the the strengths are totally redundant to each other and they're not additive. Everybody's just kind of stepping on each other's toes trying to get the exact same thing done. While Witch Doctor and Warlock are both broadly in the spectrum of guys who heal people a lot and do better in team fights than they do in individual encounters, the way they actually help out in team fights is completely different. Witch Doctor likes his long-term AoE lockdown, Warlock likes his little short-term initiate lockdown. You know, Witch Doctor likes doing the snap oh crap damage with his Maledict and ult combo, while Warlock likes to play in the
Radiant
long
team
game
pick.
with his AoE damage and his Fatal Bonds. Put them together and you've actually got yourself a pretty good team. But now something has to be done about this Phoenix, because every one of these guys is a real slow auto attacker, and now you're going to need a core to do something about that egg.
10 seconds remaining.
Certainly these guys are not going to be mobile
5
enough,
seconds
well, the support
remaining.
line anyway, and are not going to be able to position themselves in such a way they can just kind of bypass or ignore the egg. So something must be done, something that is not, at least ideally not, going to require abilities either, as you're going to have the Disruptor there. If there is one particular weakness about first pick, I do think it is this phase. I mean, having to pick in the last round before the other guy is kind of bad, but I feel like the scariest spot to be in overall is having to pick up your core here. No matter what, you've got to take at least
10
one core
seconds
here
remaining.
and throw them into the fire of whatever the other guy
5
is packing.
seconds remaining. Radiant
Thugwood
team
has decided that rather than being reactive at all, he's going to be going completely proactive, just throwing himself into a scenario where is Monkey King really good against anybody on that lineup so far? Not particularly, but he's not bad and he combos with these people. Aqua Teen Hunger Forcestaff has responded to that with as reactive of a pick as humanly possible with the Ursa, who is somebody that neither the Phoenix nor the Monkey King, nor really the Mars, really particularly want to see. He's going to have a lot of trouble against a Disruptor. He's going to need to get a BKB, and he's going to need to get it relatively early, and that won't save him the whole game. You know, there's not many things that that Ursa doesn't really have any conceivable answer to, be it through abilities or items. But the Disruptor ult, especially when the axe comes down, it's definitely on that list. They're definitely going to have to be very careful about how they Roche this game. Throne Roche can be a disaster, and a Throne Roche where an Ag Scepter drops and goes to Disruptor can really easily tilt this game completely out of Wind City for Aqua Teen Hunger Forcestaff. Pangolier ban there is interesting. The Invoker ban is equally interesting. I think there's a consideration being given there to the Bush being mid, as I do not believe that Invoker is on the Jackie Chan list. Shadow fan going on, mutual mid picks here.
Ten seconds remaining.
But to clarify, because I know I'm going to get some
5 seconds remaining.
some unfortunate comments if I don't. Yeah. Not just a core, I should say, on that particular pick. You have to send either your pause 1 or your pause 2 out. No matter what, on that particular pick, you have to send your pause 1 or pause 2 out, and the other guy gets 2 picks to snuff you out. And sure, you know, the pick here, you get 1 counter, and that's not so great. But at least you had a few bans since the last round to try and soften that blow.
10 seconds remaining.
It's definitely the second worst pick on the whole board, in my book.
5 seconds remaining.
And a very close second, mind you. Because I do not envy you if you're here. But yeah, rough spot. Seems that everybody is unanimously agreed it's all mids all around. The Pango ban is a little surprising to me there. All mids all around. Going down here. I guess the Pango ban is not surprising as he totally ignores basically their entire lineup. Lena is the choice for Thugwood. No, I don't think I like it here, to be honest with you. I think Lena, in the long term, is going to struggle quite heavily against the Dawnbreaker. It's not going to do that much against the Ursa. You know, so much of Lena is about being able to basically start engaging, start doing the damage when you want to, and basically build up an insurmountable advantage so fast that no matter what the enemy does, you know, they just had to eat the LSA, they just had to eat the ult. No matter what they do, you're now at the natural advantage, right? And there's a guy that says no to that. Definitely don't like it against the Dawnbreaker. You know, Dawnbreaker definitely has the power to just kind of reach out and squash Lena. Especially with a Maledict on top of her head. Which this game, I mean, the Maledict is going to be very free to throw around, unless something goes horribly wrong in one of these lanes. You know, it's going to be very much Witch Doctor's discretion at any given moment, who is the priority target who must now die. Lots of time coming down for Aqua Teen Hunger Forcestaff. They're going to run out the entire clock for this pick, which is not a bad idea. There's not really any compelling reason to make this pick early. Sniper. Sniper is actually a hero that I was kind of mulling over on this lineup here. I think it does work well. It's going to be able to survive the lane against Lina, basically no matter what happens. It's going to be a second thing for the Phoenix Sun, which means that Phoenix is not going to be, it's not going to be a matter of, okay, so if Ursa's distracted by literally anything, the Sun will always work. And perhaps most importantly, it's somebody who's going to be not in the same arena. In any given arena, you're going to have either Ursa or you're going to have Sniper. You're not going to have them both, and you're probably never going to have the Dawnbreaker, realistically. Not never, but very, very infrequently, right? So that's a good spread on the Aqua Teen Hunger Forcestaff lineup as far as reaction to the arena goes. At any point in the game, it's going to be pretty difficult to get a lot of VIPs in the same spot. The same, of course, naturally goes for the Static Storm. The same, of course, goes for the Monkey King ult, for the LSA, for the Sun, for that matter, in those rare occasions in this game where the Sun is going to be able to successfully go off, and it's going to be hard. That's something that the Golem can be up to, even if it is a low attack speed modifier, it can assist somebody else. Attack speed modifier. Even if it has a very low base attack speed, it can definitely assist somebody else in this process. B Ursa, C Sniper. But there will still probably be at least a couple of opportunities where the Sun's going to go off anyway. That's just naturally how things goes, The most perfect possible team fight is not what you're going to get every team fight. But also, when that Sun does go off, it's quite likely to just hit one or two folks on this lineup. Quite unlikely to hit more than that. I think this Aqua Teen Hunger Forcestaff lineup is a very good reactive lineup. My only question looking at it is how good is this going to be at being a proactive lineup? You've really pretty much got the Witch Doctor Q to help Ursa actually get to people. You got the Witch Doctor Q and whatever Dawnbreaker can get done with her kit. Anything besides that, it's likely going to be very largely consisting of Ursa blinking on people and then just kind of running around in the rest of the fight once whoever he's looking at is out of range. If a lot of people on this Radiant lineup, if your Disruptor and your Phoenix build Forcestaffs, and maybe the Bush picks up a Hurricane Pike, which is, I know, kind of an unusual sight on the Lina, but bear with me here. We are in a game with an Ursa in it, mind you. If you get a lineup that has something like that, or a lineup where you see like a Wind Waker on the Lina, which isn't that outlandish, or other similar types of scenarios, this can easily lead to a situation where Ursa's going to get kited around a lot in these fights, and it's going to be largely up to Sniper to do anything about anything. And when Sniper is the funny guard gnome who sits behind the line and is very difficult for anybody to catch, then hey, that's not such a bad thing. But when Sniper is the only thing your team has to worry about, he is very, very easy to take care of. So to that end, it's going to be interesting to see how that goes. Positioning items on Radiant are going to be a must. They're going to be basically equally musty on the Dire. In fact, they will be so musty that you're going to sneeze just looking at them. And what does that mean? It means that Jackie Chen's gonna take his anger out on Diva D here. What does it mean? It means that this is going to be a game where I think the supports are going to have a disproportionately large amount of influence on how the battle goes. The supports are going to be both responsible for a lot of Ursa's success and a lot of his failures. And this game is going to be largely predicated, I think, on how Ursa's able to do in these fights. Now, speaking of Ursa, why don't we do the roll call for both of these teams? So, and I believe we have a stand-in here on Thugwood. On Thugwood, pause 1, you've got Jackie Chin on the Monkey King. Pause 2, you've got the Bush, former perpetrator of 9/11, on the Lina. Pause 3, you've got MK, who I believe is their stand-in, on the Mars.
Tower is under attack.
Except no, he's got the clan tag, so what's something funny's going on here somewhere.
I'm ecstatic.
But Disruptor's happy about it. Pause 4, captain of the team, you got Hollwood on the Disruptor. And pause 5, you got Roxy Row on the Phoenix. Ooh. This lane being very rough so far for Dawnbreaker. This is not... I think there is one thing that I think a lot of people underestimate about Monkey King generally. Especially in his core capacity, because I think, you know, when Monkey King is a support, people look at this quite heavily, and when he's not, people don't so much, I don't think, even though it's the exact same scenario. Monkey King is a deceptively good laner. There's a lot of off lanes in particular that Monkey King does quite well for himself against. Ooh, DVD. Getting very, very, very low there. Very near to death. Meanwhile, on Aqua Team Hunger Forcestaff, pause 1, you've got Red Moon on the Ursa. Pause 2, you've got the #1 Frank stand on the Sniper. Pause 3, you've got DVD on Dawnbreaker. Pause 4, you got Peaches on the Witch Doctor.
No.
And pause 5, you've got Bonus on the Warlock. The interesting thing about the Gotham lineup... Ooh! Oh, the first blood happened somewhere else, and then both these guys died at the same time! Okay. Burns, doesn't it? It's definitely a win for Sniper there, who is not only ahead in last hits, but also was not the one who died first in that exchange. But either way, check out this actual first blood here. The interesting thing about the Gotham lineup that I was kind of getting at earlier is that all of Gotham's cores play every core role with a pretty good degree of frequency. And of course, Gotham himself plays all 5 roles at least once in a while, right? He definitely has one of the more balanced in-game actual role matches. And I believe he has competed in LD2L and other related tournaments in every position but 2. He's even been in the 1v1 mid-tournament, where, for the record, had he not randomly thrown a match, he would have been a finalist in that tournament, mind you. So you can say Gotham has done basically everything, and DeBush has done everything but live in this situation. Nope. Getting quite bullied in this lane here. Sniper now holding about half of a level of advantage on him. Or on DeBush as him, not Lena as him. Peaches just gonna get knocked over here. Ooh. Good Coconut, good attempts to unseat Peaches from Disaster there, but not ultimately successful. But as I was saying, so far this lane is going quite well for Sniper. I like his denial of the water runes, which is actually, which, you know, it sounds on the surface like he's just being stupid, but no, he doesn't have a bottle right now, and that is just better time efficiency than just walking up to him and taking them. So good job, #1 Frank Stan, proud of you on that one. But I still can't help but think that the Frank you're talking about is from Frank's Red Hot. Night has fallen, 5 minutes have elapsed. So far, Radiant is generally ahead on last hits. Mars at the complete top of the scoreboard here. Sniper to follow, then Monkey King and Lena nearly arm in arm. One thing I will say, ooh, Jackie Chan. Witch Doctor throws out the Maledict here, which at least catches Jackie's attention. He does turn around and deal with that. But once again, this entire offlane is routed. I'll be frank enough to say at this point, I think Patriots needs to call a spade a spade. Even if the heal isn't going to be the most useful skill in the world against the Monkey King in particular, even if the heal isn't going to be coming into contact with him that often, I think it's enough, and this lane is going badly enough resource-wise where I would definitely strongly think about it. Just remember, even at casual 1, That's 10 DPS both ways for you. It's like a little miniature rot for the Witch Doctor, right? That heals your buddies. It heals your buddies. First level 6. Wait, hold on. Can we see this? Phoenix comes in for a gank. Phoenix rotates here to mid. Ends up just securing the rune, I think. Bush getting hammered. Sniper hits 6. Bush tries to get at a vision range. Just barely does not. Gets sniped out. Phoenix throwing a fire spirit. That's all he's really able to do. Picks up Tranks as well. So far, there is one quite unfortunate thing for the Dire, one quite unfortunate thing for the Radiant. At this point, you can say for a fact that both Monkey King and Sniper have pretty decisively won their lanes. Not only are they up last hits, they're also up kills, which is the most important thing. You know, and Randy always says that a kill equals about 4 last hits, which I don't know if I necessarily agree with per se. I mean, certainly monetarily, but just looking at things uh-oh, he's still got Phoenix around, he doesn't realize it. He's got Disruptor too, does not stop him from getting the kill on Lena though. He is going to go down to this support combo, and Hollywood's going to go and chat over it. That's not good actually, that looks like that's okay, you know, hey, you got the kill on Sniper, right? But you pulled 2 supports out of lane to try and save the Sniper, or try to save the Lena, and they did not actually get that done, which is not the best way to start this procedure. Which means, well, I mean, at least in the perfect world, both side lanes are going to have an easier time, but Monkey King is winning this lane 1v2 at this point, so not actually so much. Still's gonna get some Ursa Summer Brave here.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
I will say this much, like I said earlier, I mean, let's just call a spade, Mars ain't great right now. And having him be the guy where you're sitting on, like, he's the guy where most of your last hits are predicated in this lane phase, that ain't quite so good, as Tusk might say. On top of that, the Dire are starting to definitely catch up, with Ursa and Dawnbreaker now having passed up Monkey King and Lena in the last hits. Dawnbreaker still nowhere close to the Mars comparison. You know, still 10 last hits down, but Ursa's well above his own counterpart, which ain't great. Warlock getting ganked here. Lena drops the LSA, but is not willing to pursue this under a tower. Who could blame them? I certainly would not chase that either. Has now returned to mid, but it's kind of unlikely she gets anything at this point done. I'm a little, Okay, Ursa's just suddenly decided that he's a Chad and is just randomly running over people in the top lane. Space is officially created on Peach's part. Casket goes out, then the Maledict comes out, which is a little backwardsville. Peaches will be punished for this breach in Witch Doctor etiquette by being summarily annihilated. Sniper is now sitting between a lot of people in this lane, and DVD has just dropped in to also Hollwood? What the hell was that? And then he calls the GG, so we're getting out of here for today. Nah, I'm just kidding.
Regeneration.
So here's a hot tip for any Disruptor players out there. There has been 2 different matches this week where somebody has been glimpsed and it saved their lives. If you or somebody you know are considering saving an enemy with your W, with your glimpse, don't! If the enemy just came in from somewhere really far away and are going to die if they stay where they are currently, don't chase them. Man, again, the Maledicts coming out of Pages here, they seem to be backwards. It seems like Pages is throwing out these Maledicts when the damage is already done. on the Witch Doctor here, which is kind of the opposite of what you want to usually be doing. You know, that one was double word score there, as it came out not only after Witch Doctor had finished doing all the damage that he was going to do, but also after the Dawnbreaker had finished all the damage she was going to do. There's some posturing here by the Radiant at mid. Mars is randomly going to die, just in case that kind of non-victory was already... Oh, this is a good use of the sun. Definitely. Put them into a scenario where even though they have the tools to deal with the sun, if they do, they're just going to die. Good posturing there, good reaction there. Everything kind of turns out very well for them as a result. Either way, as I was saying though, any advantage that Mars had is certainly now gone, as Ursa has now well and beyond passed him up, and he is in fact fallen to tied for the lowest net worth of any of these cores. He's about tied with the Dawnbreaker, who, just to be blunt, has a lot more to offer at this level of gold than the Mars does. Or, honestly, really, has about more to offer at any level. As mentioned, you kind of have the issue I was talking about. Diva D just drops right into the arena, and while she takes a fall for it, Ursa is still doing mostly fine, though not if he runs right into Lena. Does go right down there. I think he got a little too, aggressive there. If he hits R and walks away, I don't know what can possibly kill him. But then I guess in fairness, he probably did not expect a party to be waiting for him down the stairs. Money passes right into the hands of Dyer there. And we have a little bit of equalization going on. So is still doing quite well for himself last hit-wise, though. As far as, not last hit necessarily, but he's still doing well for himself money-wise, though. Which is definitely a good start for any Ursa. Sniper at the top of the net worth chart is exactly where he wants to be. This is one of the biggest benefits you can have in a sniper game is, going into this, post-lane phase with a very strong, very heavy treasure trove. You're attempting a lot to get rid of him here. It looks like they just might. Witch Doctor coming in last second. Try and make the save. Phoenix is going to try and sun here to get rid of him. Does succeed at the cost of his own life. While the rest of the Dyers being kind of killed around them. This is a really good coconut out of Witch Doctor. Any team trying to desperately to pursue him through the jungle. You finally get him down. Mars drops the arena on Ursa alone, who really needed to ult a little earlier than this. And as a result, it's a 3-for-5 trade.
Burns, doesn't it?
Thugwood is taking very good positions in these fights, while Dyer has, again, probably, ultimately, I would say, a hair better of a draft. It seems like when it comes to fights, especially the support line on the Dyer is kind of struggling to figure out exactly where they should be, exactly what they should be doing in this particular match. And as a result, you get scenarios where, Sniper is just kind of casually picked off somewhere random off screen. Or Ursa is just taking a little fight of his own somewhere else, and the support line is not able to do anything for him. They're definitely being sidelined, sidebarred here, which ain't great. Is not great for their strategy.
Invisibility.
With that, the net worth, of course, has tipped back to Radiant. Sniper is closing on a Maelstrom, though, and that should change things rather quickly. Notably, Ursa also is closing in on a Diffusal Blade, which, at least in the early game, is going to make life a little miserable for Lena. It's going to really cut down the amount of time that she's going to be able to spend in fights. And if Ursa is particularly lucky, might also let him, say, put Phoenix into a place where he can't actually drop the egg without risking death. If he tries to get too cute about the positioning of it, could very easily lead to disaster. Bonus here is biting the bullet, going quite deep into what is currently quite heavily enemy-infested territory in their own jungle, while most of the cores are sitting where it's safe, sitting at the bot lane, sitting at the triangle, which is definitely a good idea, good conceptual game plan here. Sniper just farming away. I do think there is a bit of a question in the air of what's going to happen with the Monkey King. Monkey King, not a great scaler. I would not say that Monkey King is going to be too scary to any of these guys particularly late out into the game, but he's going to be very scary to them for quite a long time.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
It's definitely a game where I think Monkey King has the capacity to seize an advantage very early on.
Dire's middle tower
Make sure the enemy team cannot come back from it. We've got a 3-man smoke here. Hollwood considers pulling the brakes on it entirely. Looking straight at Sniper. This is not great for him. Bonus in the right spot for this, at least. Drops a lot to try and save the Garden Gnome, but one thing it is kind of hard to argue with is the Disruptor. Ursa's gonna come in and just totally eat everybody, though.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
The sun blows up right as Ursa's ability comes off cooldown, which I'm sure is not frustrating for him or anything. In an interesting turn of events, while Monkey King does actually end up dying there for his troubles, he actually does end up making a profit, and as a result has topped to the net worth charts for at least a very short amount of time. You know, one particular notable part of that fight being that Dawnbreaker formally gets the kill and the streak off of him. Which at this point in the game is not bad. It has felt a little bit like Dawnbreaker has been starting to get to the point of being just a walking ult, just a big jump with nothing to really back it up. And finishing up this Desolator here, which is a very ballsy move, might I add, the first item Desolator in a game like this. Finishing up the Desolator here does have a lot of potential to help things out here, and yet another smoke gang coming in here. Ursa needs to hit this R immediately, good on him. Sniper shows up, the enemy team says, nope, not having any of this. It's almost a bit of a bluff here, as Sniper is really the only actual threat that's in the right spot to do anything about it. The rest of the team did close, but they're very far away still. Ursa is going to eat some shots from Disruptor here by accident. Disruptor tries to TP away, but it takes so long that he just fails to get out. Not really sure who he was TPing to. Was he trying to TP Outpost or something? They are going to get a very easy kill on Ursa here. Just get away with it. I think Ursa is definitely overestimating the amount of protection that both his supports and his ult can actually provide him in this game. He's taking a lot of these fights, and he's getting in a lot of skirmishes with a very short HP bar. And just kind of expecting God to do the work, but in this particular match, no, you can't really do that. You know, Ursa is going to be able to survive basically everything they have if he starts the engagement at his prime. If he comes in at full health, Ursa's going to be able to stand up, you know, between Ursa, the Witch Doctor heal, the Warlock heal, he's going to be able to stand up to a hell of a lot of what the enemy team is packing for him. But if he tries to eat an arena at 30% HP, not so much. Not so much. Sniper cruising through jungle items here has picked himself up a Brigand's Blade, which is going to be a very, very nasty thing for a lot of the enemies to deal with. Chris incidentally has himself a Possessed Mask, which is quite a good item for him. Definitely allows him to do some early Roche action, which I gotta be honest, I'm not 100% sure why we haven't seen one yet. The enemy team has been doing a very good job trying to secure the pit area and try to be very oppressive, but they're definitely, I definitely feel like the formation has broke enough that you could probably at least smoke in. You know, that's a very good PSA for everybody here. If you're an Ursa player, remember this. If nobody is literally standing in front of the Roche pit, you can always smoke in, basically.
Radiant structures are fortified.
Which is kind of sounds contradictory on the surface, so let me reword that really quickly. If nobody is standing in front of the Roche pit, they cannot break a smoke. Ergo, if nobody is there, smoke is going to be safe for you. Warlock is going to be the one eating the pound here. This gets incredibly quickly picked off. I'm not really a fan of how Mars plays into this team's dynamic. I really do like this Disruptor and Monkey King combo. I don't believe that their regular Pause 1 is playing with them this game, but the Thugwood lineup should definitely consider this Disruptor Monkey King lineup in the future. It's got a lot of wheels behind it.
Dire's structures are fortified.
Very interesting that
Radiant's middle tower
part of Aqua Teen Hunger Forcestaff is really willing to try and defend this T2 to the last and part of the missing. Bonus there, I think, makes quite the tactical error, just dropping his ult very casually on nothing. It's a good stun. Nope, never mind. It was a bad stun. I thought the Ursa W was just used. Apparently not, Bubsy. Mars going to go down there. Ultimately, to survive. What a fight. That was odd. Very awkward scenario. It's really kind of hard to say who came out on that decisively. I guess I would say, as a whole... no, this is just impossible. Yeah, this is just a total stalemate. That's what I would say. This is a total stalemate of a fight. Which is odd. That started really disastrously for the Dire, though, so I'm gonna say them having a stalemate of a fight is probably not a bad result to get out of that. You know, that fight started with two of their guys just getting totally jumped on, Warlock in particular only really being able to just ult and then die. So, considering how much of a fakakta that started out, there's definitely some good signs in there, at the very least. You know, that should have been a W for the Radiant. The fact that it was a stalemate, not too bad. Not too bad. Definitely doing some suspicion of the Roche here. Three-man smoked on Ursa and Warlock, which is not exactly the most threatening combination of people to be in the smoke right about now.
Tower is under attack. Dire are scanning.
Dire scan out Roche Pit.
Radiant are scanning.
Both teams scan out Roche Pit. Both teams ultimately find nothing in there. Ursa's having a little hesitancy. And ultimately just decides to run up the hill and start beating up some more jungle creeps.
Can't outrun a wildfire.
This is some top tier Roche paranoia on this team, I can tell you that much. You know, 5-10 minutes ago, Ursa could have snuck in. That window is certainly gone now, as Radiant is checking Roche literally every opportunity they get, trying to secure the pit and everything. Warlock is not going to enjoy what happens to him now. Buys back? Which is interesting. To be honest with you, I would not really expect a major fight to be in the works here. Interesting way Radiant's spread here. You can tell they don't want to really take a fight. What Radiant wants is, this is a classic LD2L scenario, Radiant at this point just kind of wants Ursa to go into the pit and to be able to force something major from there. And that's not what they get, and they're not going to be very happy about this. Oops. That dust actually land? Yeah, it did. It's not going to matter. You know, it goes about 1 trillion miles per hour. Now this is an absolute classic LD2L experience. Both teams just waiting for the other one to initiate. Both teams hoping the other guy just randomly goes into the Roche pit. Both teams just praying the other guy makes a mistake. Not really making any sort of decisive moves of their own. Aside from Ursa, who is right now out farming for himself. Everybody else is just kind of crowded around this bit, waiting for something to happen. 5-minute mid, the Dota experience as we know it. Five-man smoke on Radiant are now looking for the triangle. Lots of pings coming out here. I don't believe there is any real hope that this was cut out, and unfortunately Sniper is now going to be the one that tanks the gank and just dies instantly. Which is the worst possible scenario, basically, for the Dire.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
Which makes a funny clock noise. In an attempt, I suppose, to drive me insane. Radiant now looking to take the Roche pit for themselves. Not a major surprise. They should have the ability to do this. Certainly going to take a lot off their mind for a while. Dawnbreaker is going to try and intervene, but
Dire's middle tower
prognosis does not look good for her so far.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
Gonna actually drop the salve on Disruptor here. Hammer goes in, everybody sees what's going on in this pit. Lena takes the Aegis. The Dawnbreaker ult hits absolutely nothing, she just dies of Monkey Kings on the way out. This is not a good scenario for the Dire here so far. Smoke is immediately broken running into Lena, who's an absolutely impossible kill right now. You know, if it was not a panic situation, Lena's definitely not the Aegis taker on this team. It's just really hard to imagine her dying much at all at this point. She is so fast, she is so hard to catch, even with the stuns that the Dire does have.
Under attack. Radiant structures are fortified.
They're making every effort they can to push this mid T1. It's a pretty good arena. Everybody's inside of here. There's not going to be a common scenario in this game. Sniper's just going to completely go down and eat it. Dawnbreaker just can really do nothing about this scenario but watch, and even watching may ultimately not be what she wanted to do. They're trying to kill me.
Burns, doesn't it?
It's starting to look to me.
Burns, doesn't
And this is an unfortunate, seems like it's been a bit of an unfortunate problem with some of the teams in week 1. It almost seems to me like the Aqua Team Hunger Forcestaff lineup doesn't really know what to do with the set of toys that they've got in their possession here. It does not seem like, you know, maybe this is a scenario where all these guys can play these heroes individually, and this is certainly, somebody had a good idea for a comp here, but it doesn't really feel like they understand the strengths and weaknesses of their team. It does not feel like these guys really understand why a lineup like this is good against a lineup like that. You know, one big tell to that is the position of some of the heroes in these fights. You know, like an order of battle in a team fight should go, you know, Ursa and Witch Doctor way out in front, Warlock following up, Sniper in the back, and Dawnbreaker jumping in from somewhere else. That's how a team fight should go for Aqua Teen Hunger Forcestaff, and so far when they have had more of a, you know, disciplined formation like that, they've been doing good in these fights. But on the other hand, when it's just kind of 5 guys right-click the enemy line, it's been pretty disastrous, and that's been more of these fights than not. They do not have the kind of fight that works for. They do not have the ability to just kind of go in guns blazing, funnily enough with a sniper. They do not have that ability on this team. If they try that, it is just going to be nothing but a lack of success for them. Speaking of a lack of success, going to be a lack of success in breaking Dawnbreaker out of this scenario, as more people go down around her to try and make it happen. Chris ulting here, just has nowhere to go. Called out in front of everybody, just dies.
Dire's middle tower is under attack. Dire's middle barracks are under attack.
And it's kind of hard to see any kind of victory from the Dire side at this point. I really do not think Aqua and Hunger Forcestaff have a path anymore. They are at least presumably going to try and make one last spirited defense of their base here, but I don't know, I just don't really see that being a great possibility. I mean, on one hand, there's not really ults up on these guys, but on the other hand, I don't know, it just doesn't kind of seem like they need them that much.
Dire's bottom barracks is falling.
Good use of the disguise there, the mischief, dodging the sniper ult and getting the Monkey King just barely out of there. One sad thing about this, I do think if there was concentration of fire on the melee racks, it would have gone down rather than the range racks, which is always what you want in a situation like this. You know, the golden rule of pushing racks is if you know you can take at least one, go for the melee. If you don't think you can, you go for the range. And maybe there was a lack of confidence there on... I almost said the bush. Maybe there's a lack of confidence on Thugwood there, but it was kind of undue if there was. At this point, there is almost a... Well, there is not almost. There's just a directly linear progression of gold here. All the Radiant supports, or all the Radiant cores, all the Dire cores, all the Radiant supports, all the Dire supports. And the distinction is starting to get larger and larger between them. You know, old MK, he's got something to celebrate. He's part of that, like, 43% win rate for Mars in organized games. Hooray! Actually, there's kind of an island of misfits team in general on the Radiant. You know, the Mars, the Monkey King, the Phoenix. It's not really meta picks here on this lineup, I would say.
This'll come in
You know, maybe the Lena to a degree, maybe the Raptor to a degree, but Sniper finally fulfills everybody's dream and just hits BKB, walks out of the arena.
Radiant's
Nothing
middle
happening there.
tower is under attack.
Voodoo switcheroo here is going to at least waste some of Monkey King's time before Witch Doctor invariably goes down. Enough time to get Ursa BKB. That could be interesting.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
I don't know how interesting it's going to be. Actually, I do know how interesting it's going to be. They are missing the arena. Monkey King is dead before he does anything. And just dropped, I believe that was his 7-second BKB. For nothing at all. Now that's a bit of an interesting scenario. You don't usually see the pause 1 on a 17k gold advantage team, 18k at the time, just take a fall like that. Definitely shows that the Monkey King's definitely going to need to be by Lena's side. This is interesting. Sniper got for the shard. It's going to need to be by Lena's side this game if he wants to get that much done. Hollwood calling for neutrals to be stacked. He picked himself up an Aeon disc. Very interesting Phoenix item, I gotta say.
Illusion.
Nothing too creative there, but always interesting to see exactly how this is going to play out here. Dire still trying to take this T1 mid out. They have actually yet to take more than one tower in this entire game. Griffith's back up, does not stay up though. T1 mid just kind of casually goes down. Dire makes a casual retreat back to their own base. Sniper actually finishing up a Hurricane Pike, which is definitely going to be great news for him. It feels like he's needed this thing for so long. There is one thing I can definitely say for certain. I do not like the prospect of the Witch Doctor Ags in this game. I mean, for starters, this is probably not going to be going on long enough. Either way, that Peaches is likely to get this, but I mean, like I said earlier, the cores need help positioning themselves, and the Witch Doctor Ags is not going to be conducive to that in any real way.
This'll come in handy.
Very sad for Dawnbreaker that her first real item was the Desolator, and she's gotten King's Ransom of 2 kills with it so far. It's very rough. I've been in that situation. It's definitely one of the moments where I feel like a kill on the melee rack here rather than the range rack actually has quite a big impact. Being able to keep the equilibrium so consistently pushed against Dire's bot lane here would definitely be a blessing for them. Radiant seems to be waiting around for another Roche attempt. Not too surprising. One of the biggest assets they could have going into this next fight would definitely be 2 lives on the Monkey King. As we've seen, even though this gold advantage is looking very substantial, it is not far enough that these guys are not still mortal. Penta Edge on a Witchbane, Penta Edge on Monkey King. That thing is nasty, and he's gonna pick that right up. No surprise from that front. Roche Bubble is popped. Disruptor. Okay, yeah, Disruptor has Ags. This game is probably over. You know, I do think that the surprisingly successful defense effort on the Dire's part at the bot racks did kind of put at least a small chip into their favor. But, I mean, well beyond Lena taking the Aegis, which is totally redundant. Definitely should have gone to Monkey King here. He doesn't need that OOC anymore, I don't think. But beyond the Aegis going to Lena, I think the Ags on Disruptor actually is going to have a much more devastating impact. I mean, like I said before, Ursa has a lot of ways to answer a lot of things in this game, but he's a very binary hero. Ursa either has an answer or he doesn't, and if Ursa doesn't have an answer, he is very hard-pressed to survive in any capacity. You know, he needs to either completely ignore and dominate a scenario, or else he has no part to play in the scenario. And that Disruptor Ags is something that definitely makes sure that Ursa is going to have a hard time existing. Basically, the only possible way Ursa has to survive that being dropped on him is if he predicts it and hits BKB in advance. That's it. Radiant finally starting their siege on uphill after what feels like quite a long time. Trying to drag out the game to troll the casters. You know, I am recording this on Sunday, guys. Can we hurry it up? Shremlo going out, falling onto Bush's head. It's going to take about half of her bar. Ursa's going to go out and actually gets dragged out, gets thrown out of the Disruptor ult by Mars's spear, which Hollwood cannot be happy to have had that happen. That was instantly going to be game if he was actually caught in there. Ursa's going to come out here and immediately drop... Nope, never mind. Okay, yes, mine. Immediately drop the Aegis that Lena was backing. Sniper is going to just battery Mars in the background, who is like, no, it's gonna be fine actually. But there's gonna be a lot of attention paid to making that sure that gets done. Satanic out on Lena, it's making this fight a lot harder for everybody. His arm comes out on Ursa, he's pinned to a tree, he's pinned to his grave.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
3 buybacks, none are being made. I mean, if you're not gonna buy, just call the G's, right? Like, don't make me sit here like another 2 minutes, please.
Dire's middle tower has fallen.
Damn, who ruined Jackie Chan's life?
Radiant victory.
Thuckwood and Thuck Chins take the final victory, well, first round victory, in week 1. What's the take on this match? Take's pretty simple, I think. This is an army of clockwork soldiers so far. If the Dire had a better understanding of the strengths and weaknesses of this comp, then this was definitely going to be a very good match for them. I think if the Dire had a firm grasp on why these 5 heroes are good against those 5 heroes, if they understood how these fights should be orchestrated and should flow, I think they can easily put themselves into a scenario where, you know, Mars has the choice of either going for Sniper and letting Ursa eat the fight, or going for Ursa and letting Sniper eat the fight, right? But ultimately, Aqua and Hunger Forcestaff spent so much of this game just kind of ganging up on each other. I mean, just how many times did we see an LSA hit more than one guy? Just how many times did we see an Arena hit all of the cores? Realistically, that probably shouldn't be happening in this game. Just to be blunt, it probably shouldn't be happening here. I do think there are some slips, both in terms of the play and the atomization, and I will be mean enough to say that I do think that there was, you know, unfortunately, more miscue on Aqua Teen's part than brilliance on Thuckwood's part. That's not to say there weren't still some very good things in Thuckwood. I thought that Lena played things out very well. Jackie Chan understood his role in this game to a T. Took some unfortunate spills, but definitely got it. The Mars had a good performance, you know, like I said, adding to that very minuscule organized Mars win rate. And of course, the Roxy Phoenix and Hollwood Disruptor, they go without saying. We'll see what happens in Game 2.